You are listening to Rouge Radio, a proud member of the Canadian Football Podcast Network.
It's time to get the point as Rouge Radio is ready to kick off.
Ready!
The best football talk with the best in the business.
So what is the cost? You have 2 first-round picks this year because the Argos are dumb enough to trade for Drew Willie.
A few rookies.
We go directly to the on-field product. We welcome to the show the 20th overall pick in this past Sunday's CFL draft, DeAndre Wright of the Alouettes. DeAndre, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Thank you for having me.
And the occasional Hall of Famer.
Please welcome Dru Brown, who is one of the members of the current class of 2016 in the CFL Hall of Fame. Doug, thanks for joining us today.
Oh, thank you, guys, for the kind words and for having me on the program.
Rouge Radio is on the air. Here's your hosts, Robert Dalton and Tony
Welcome back, everybody, to another edition of the Rouge Radio podcast, powered by the Canadian Football Podcast Network. My name is Robert Dalton, and joining me from a different location, oh, I can't wait to play Where's Tony in this week's podcast. This is episode 525. And before we get to the sweet banter, let's go to the booth announcer, shall we?
Rouge Radio Podcast is sponsored by the good people over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com, enter the promo code Rouge. Your order will be dropped down by 20% and with free worldwide shipping. Go to manscaped.com. Your balls, they will thank you.
Well, thank you to that. I don't even know if we have a name for that booth announcer, but I digress. Week 1's in the books. Week 2 is we're going to be previewing, plus Tony brings back a wonderful segment, also known as our Magnificent Bastard. But Tony, we mentioned at the top of the show, where are you, my man?
I'm back in Saskatchewan. It's been a while since I visited this province, but my new job, I go on the road, but luckily this time only, overnights at the most. But I've landed in beautiful, maybe it is. I haven't really seen outside of my room, but Swift Current, Saskatchewan is where I am today. I think it's a first time for Swift Current. I know I've been to Pontax. I don't think we were doing shows when I went to Yorkton.
No, and we have a listener in Yorkton. I am amazed that you didn't know about that person.
But I don't think we did shows in Pontax. That was February. So I think Regina is the only other time I've done a show from Saskatchewan. So,
did you drop in to see our good friend Dave? I know he's in Pence. Yeah.
I go a little bit farther east to get to Dave.
Oh, okay. Well, I thought Swift Current was before Regina, like in between. Man, the only time I remember Swift Current, obviously I know Swift Current. I remember traveling. I was 8. I was traveling with my grandparents. We're going to BC, and we went through Swift Current, and part of me remembers just in the morning going to Regina, having breakfast. But I don't. Now that I'm starting to doubt myself, my memory has Swift Current in between Regina and the Manitoba border. But okay.
No, it would go where I'm traveling, Medicine Hat. Then we hit Swift Current in about 2 hours. Then 2 hours after that, you get to Regina, and then it's the Manitoba. So Swift Current's between Regina and Medicine Hat. It used to be my halfway point when I was working in Regina.
Well, my memory has failed me once, the first time. But I do see here it's close to Moose Jaw. So we do have listeners in Moose Jaw. Hey, so week 1's in the book. I went 0 for 4 in my picks. Yeah. I believe you went 2 for 2.
There you go. I'll take it.
Yeah. I mean,
off the top of my head, but
I mean, before we get to our Magnificent Bastard, did anything jump out for you as far as like, is there anything that you could like take where the like, hey, this happened because I expect this team, or is this kind of like week 1 an exception or an extension to preseason?
Well, the thing is, some of the like. Nothing surprised me about any individual team. Maybe Ottawa a little bit, but they were weird too because individually Ottawa players were better than their Saskatchewan counterpart on the other side, if that makes sense. Like Dru Brown had a better afternoon than Trevor Harris, and two Ottawa receivers had better days than any Saskatchewan Roughrider receiver, yet somehow Ottawa comes out on the losing end. So again, I partial it, I will say, and I've been saying it for years anyway, so it's not so much an excuse to say that week one, all bets are off the table. I wasn't expecting Saskatchewan to do as well as they did. And it's, again, statistically, Ottawa had a good day. Saskatchewan somehow put more points on the board. What was really interesting for me is that offensively, outside of a couple of Saskatchewan receivers and two newcomer receivers, I don't think there was a running back that had triple digits. I don't think there's a single running back in the CFL in week one that broke 100 yards. I think like 89 was the most. It's more statistics like that shocked me. That not one single run, and it wasn't even the running back group as a whole. Just like it's like the CFL abandoned the run game in week one.
Yeah, and I'm upset because last week I predicted a tie, or at least going to overtime. Lewis Ward misses a field goal and 2 point after attempts. Those are 5 points. The Ottawa Redblacks lost by 5. I predicted that Lowther was going to be the one that had a statistical nightmare, and he almost did. He had a field goal attempt that I don't know what happened to the snap, but he ended up punting it for like 30 yards, which is because I guess just as good. You pin them deep, but I'm kind of mad because I was like, man, Ottawa's going to come back. Ottawa's going to we're going to go to overtime, and no, they just it just seems like Saskatchewan had not the breaks, but they had the they didn't shoot themselves in the foot as much as Ottawa did. And I think that in week one, that's like I said, it's an extension to the preseason, so you get that out of the way, which is probably one of the reasons why nobody wants a week one bye. So I kind of really not wanting to see this game, Winnipeg and BC, but we'll talk more about that. Another one that I was kind of shocked but kind of expected was Trey Ford having such a bad night. He had one highlight reel play. Outside of that, I think if you're going to say that, hey, this is kind of expected, that offense, that aerial attack in Edmonton came as advertised, because there was nobody that was a number one receiver that was a threat to go downfield. Yeah. And the only way that there was when Trey Ford when Trey Ford had ran around, I had glimpses of Zach Collaros, like back in 2019, his first start against the Calgary Stampeders. Except that one went for a touchdown. Trey Ford manages to run backwards like 30 or 40 yards, runs back, throws it to, I can't remember who he threw it to, but it was a spot on, and they ended up getting a touchdown after that. But outside of that one play, I thought Edmonton's offense, especially during in the aerial attack, came as advertised, and until they get a bona fide number one threat receiver, I don't care. You mentioned that there's going to be a receiver coming out of nowhere. I haven't seen that to be that number one threat. So until they fix that, I am Edmonton's defense. If they keep on the field as much as they were, there's only so much they can do. They had some tremendous third down stops.
It's funny too, because I think I picked, and it hurts because I picked Ford to be the Canadian quarterback that was going to step up and say that Rourke might crumble under it, but no, Rourke's numbers anyways would suggest that he had a fantastic debut weekend in week one.
And not to take anything away from Nathan Rourke, but the Edmonton Elks were one of a plethora of teams that had a revamped secondary. And I always said that secondary and offensive line are the groups that you absolutely need familiarity and consistency because those are the guys that really need to communicate and work with each other as opposed to receiver. A receiver, you just get a guy running a route, right? I mean, if the timing between the quarterback is off, you can kind of fix that in game. Those groups, they need to be fluent throughout the game, play after play after play after play. And I think you saw that with Saskatchewan. I mean, not with, the fourth quarter was kind of iffy on Saskatchewan, but you saw Saskatchewan's DBs just kind of have, locked down after that first two drives. They kind of locked it down, and I'm kind of expecting Winnipeg to do the same again. Not to get ahead of everything, but that's what happens when you get teams showing consistency and that familiarity. All right, let's get to this week's Magnificent Bastard. Tony, what do you got for us here?
Yeah, there's different ways that I was going to go. I know that the Magnificent Bastard has gone very far from where it originated as me just finding a goofball or a play or something that would deem a Magnificent Bastard. And then it kind of tracked into it was just the player of the week kind of thing. And that's not really a Magnificent Bastard if I'm just picking the guy with the best statistics and just being like, so I kind of went with a combination of both, and a bit on the quirky, but a bit statistically. He didn't have the best statistical weekend for a receiver. I think it was someone in Ottawa did, but there was again some great debut receivers. You had alluded to it that I mentioned a receiver coming out of nowhere to make waves in Edmonton. He hasn't stepped forward, but there was actually 2 or 3 around the Canadian Football League that in their debut put up pretty impressive numbers for never have played the game before. And again, without playing the whole, is the receiver as good as the quarterback or the quarterback as the receiver? I picked this one guy out just because, he got the win. The numbers were nice. And, I wanted to go back to mixing in why I originally came up with Magnificent Bastards. So with 105 yards and 2 touchdowns to debut in the Canadian Football League, I wanted to give this week's Magnificent Bastard to Stanley Berryhill III. Maybe I'm just giving it to him on his name alone. Great name, great Canadian Football League, but again, good numbers. Come up to the Canadian Football League. I don't care what you did in the NFL. If you haven't done it in the CFL, you haven't done it. So again, with those kinds of numbers coming in, helping the BC Lions pick up the first win of the season, Stanley Berryhill III, you're my Magnificent Bastard.
There we go. And we should keep track throughout the whole season. Maybe we could have like a Magnificent Bastard Rouge at the end of this year.
There you go. Who is the ultimate Magnificent Bastard?
The ultimate Magnificent Bastard. Yes, definitely. Let's go to week 2.
To appease one of our other listeners, Joe, the winner's parents will get married.
There we go. All right. Let's go to week 2. Week 2 starts tomorrow. I managed to secure tickets to tomorrow night's game. Not yet a sellout, but I can't imagine that it won't be in Winnipeg at Princess Auto Stadium. BC Lions on a short week go into Winnipeg to play the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. Some key, I know that BC Lions have some minor roster additions. I didn't get a chance to look at their depth chart, but the big name coming off, obviously, with his one-game suspension in Winnipeg, Zach Collaros not playing. Chris Streveler making his start in his season debut. The early odds actually have BC favored by 3.5 points, and the over-under is at 47.5. Tony, where do you got this one?
I've got this one going in favor of BC, having a win and a week under their belt, seeing action, going up against, again, no fault of Winnipeg's getting the bye in the first week and trying to cope without a Zach Collaros. And I don't care what anyone says. They know what's happened to them in the last couple of years, and maybe they'll try and go a little bit too hard. Maybe there's some new guys that don't know and will have great, new guys that weren't part of it, and it could be a good season. But right now, I'm going to go with BC, give them the upper hand, only because they have a week together, seeing games. Even if Edmonton didn't give them much of a competition, They have 1 week under their belt. Winnipeg doesn't. This is not a knock against Winnipeg. I think Winnipeg's going to have a great season as well. But out of the gates for Winnipeg on this one, I'm going to hand them a loss to the BC Lions 28-17.
I'm my heart, my gut says to agree with you on that one. Notwithstanding that we had some home field advantage in week one, there obviously Chris Trevler starting really is a different animal compared to Zach Collaros. But I also do think that there's a part of me that says that new offensive coordinator is going to have a little bit more imagination when it comes to the play calling. But at the same time, I also think that Winnipeg actually has, what the benefit of having that week one is now you have a little bit of film on BC. That guy that came out of nowhere. Well, now, you have some film on him. The bad thing about Winnipeg is that you have that familiarity throughout the roster. A couple changes here and there. BC probably has a little bit more film from the past 5 years, right? Nothing's really kind of changed outside of the coordinators. I expect this to be a very high defensive battle. I think Winnipeg is really going to run the ball as much as they can, primarily through Brady Oliveira. But again, with the threat of Chris Trevler, I expect them to have a little bit more success on the ground. But at the same time, we talk about Nathan Rourke. We're huge fans of Nathan Rourke. We want him to succeed. If there's one team that has Nathan Rourke's numbers since he came into the CFL, it is the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. They have had his number. Even when Nathan Rourke did have some statistically good numbers against Winnipeg still blew them out. My gut says BC does come around on this one, but I'm going to have a cop-out. Winnipeg covers the spread, at the very least. I am not convinced that BC is a good enough team to cover that spread. I'll say that as much. I will go BC, but I think it's a 23-21 BC Lions victory. So take the under on this one. I like Jordan Younger's defensive scheme to really mess with Nathan Rourke's mind. So definitely take Jordan Younger to get into Nathan Rourke's head, but maybe not good enough. But again, that's me not betting against my team, so to speak. But I'm going to play it safe, cop out here, that they at least cover the spread. Next game, the Montreal Alouettes are in the Ottawa Redblacks, and some big news. Dru Brown will not be playing this game. Dru Brown, MOP season is on a little bit of a hiatus on there. Can we talk? I know that before we get in here, can we talk about possibly Dru Brown not being built for football? He missed 4 games last year. Now he's missed 1 game in it's only week 2. And when I say missed 4 games, I think he missed 2 games completely, and then he left early in the other 2. So essentially, he missed 4 games. So out of 19 games that the Ottawa Redblacks have played, he's about to miss, or about 20, he's about to miss 5. He's only played 15 of them. Should we have this conversation?
So he's going to win. He's going to win the Jesse Lumsden Award.
Yeah.
For just not being healthy enough to ever play football. Other recipients being Buck Pierce and
almost Zach Collaros. Collaros had that award until it came to Winnipeg.
Yeah.
The Montreal Alouettes obviously are favored by 3.5 points. The over/under is at 48.5. Ottawa was exactly what I talked about, that familiarity in the defensive backside. I think that they'll be fine. Aside from, I'm not too sure why they got Amari Henderson back there. But I think the more that these guys play back there in that scheme that they have in Ottawa, they'll be fine. Montreal is a good enough... I don't think Montreal is who they were in the first half of that last year's season, and they're definitely not the team that they were when they won the Grey Cup 2 years ago. But they're still a good enough team to take advantage of this scenario that Ottawa has. Looking back into the season, if I was looking at in the off season, I would have said Ottawa had this by a touchdown. I'm not convinced on this one. I think Montreal does cover the spread. I'll take them 28-17 to 18. I'm not too sure of my math. If that's no, that's still the under, I believe, but they do cover the spread. Tony.
Yeah, I think this one's going to be easy for me. I'm only taking Montreal because Dru Brown isn't playing, and um, who's the quarterback for Montreal? I want to
Davis
say Anderson.
Alexander.
Alexander. I want to say Anderson, but I went Alexander. Okay, Alexander had a good enough showing against Toronto, but I mean, he played regular season Nick Arbuckle. He picked regular Nick Arbuckle. That Grey Cup Nick Arbuckle isn't a real person. That's an AI quarterback or something. It's just so I wasn't surprised that Montreal was able to take out the Toronto Argonauts. But I think even what they did with that Toronto Argonauts team, they're facing the same kind of quarterback situation now in Ottawa. There's some tools there in Ottawa that I mentioned before. Some receivers putting up some great numbers, but I think Ottawa is going to be out for the count on this one. 31-10 Montreal. I'm taking this one.
Before we get to the other two games, let's go to the booth announcer to mention our partners.
Rouge Radio is proudly partnered with the good people of our Sports Interaction. As we're talking about gambling, betting, go to sia.com/rouge. Your first deposit will be matched up to 100%. And as always, the guys say, please play and gamble responsibly.
All right, thank you. Third game, the Calgary Stampeders are in Toronto, and talk about a game that came out of nobody expected that. I mean, Vernon Adams Jr. had some bad throws, some bad decisions, but overall, I think if you're a Stampeder fan, that's hope. That's hope. That's the epitome of hope. They are in Toronto. The play you mentioned, Nick Arbuckle, looks like Chad Kelly is not going to be making his return this week. The Calgary Stampede, or the Toronto Argonauts, being the home team, are favored by 1.5. The over/under is set at 50.5. Where do you have this one going?
I said before I touch on this one, for some reason, even though you didn't say anything that should jog this in my memory, it jogged it in my memory, and it was at the Toronto receiver in the Montreal-Toronto game that was wide open. Like, you're never going to have an easier downfield catch than this guy did, and he just flat out dropped it. If we were still doing a WTF award, that guy would have dropped it. Is that who it was? For some reason, I'm picturing a Toronto Argonauts receiver, but I remember just watching that one like, oh my God. Like,
I can't remember.
That's going to get you benched.
Yeah. I can't remember.
Anyways.
Yeah.
But going back to this, very happy for the Stampeders, not because they were impressive, but they got it done against adversity. Like, I think no touchdowns for Vernon Adams and an interception, but they still pulled it off. So, you know what? When you finish dead last in the league, take them however you can get them. They don't have to be pretty right now. Things that scared me, 20 and 2, 20 yards second, 20 and 2, or 2 and 20, whatever you want to phrase it. Either way, it's 20 yards on a second down. And no, it wasn't. It was 10, second and 10. So the Stamps defense drops back 20 yards when you didn't have, like, and it's only the start of the fourth quarter. You don't need to be doing that right now, regardless of the lead you had. It bothered me not only to see that. So, of course, the Tigers get the first down. And then, like, 2 plays later, you're 3rd and 5 or something. So you give up another 15 yards. And there was all due respect to the announcers that were trying to, Stampeders are willing to give up those yards. But why? It's 3rd and 5, and Bo Levi Mitchell hasn't really done anything. Like, why not go for the stop? Why are you? Don't use the excuse, well, we're okay giving up those yards. Like, but there's like 8 minutes left in the fourth quarter. Have you never watched a football game in the Canadian Football League in your life? Because I don't want to give up those yards at that point in the game. So, big concerns from the Stampeders, from the coaching side for sending those plays in. I won't put it on the players. Those were just very concerning defensive calls from the Calgary Stampeders. That's why I think the Argonauts aren't good enough to beat the Stampeders, but Dave Dickinson will do something stupid. Play calling. The coaching staff is clearly not going to think this thing through to the end. That's why I think the Argonauts keep it close within a touchdown, but I'm still going to give a 28-21 win to the Calgary Stampeders, despite my glaring concerns of some of this play calling on defense.
Yeah, there are some things that I was kind of going the way of that way too as well. And to me, now we're going to see a different team in Calgary who had issues on the road last year. I didn't see a team that was like, this is us. Like this, we are going to be just absolutely dominant. They were good, but they were also playing the Hamilton Tiger Cats, who for some, like, I saw this, like they were 1-20 or something like that on week 1 games going back. Like that is like, how? Like how does that happen? Anyway, there's something about the Toronto Argonauts defensively that just says if they can keep it close, they'll give Toronto, they'll give their offense a chance. But also, I didn't see anything from Toronto's offense yesterday that says we're gonna take that opportunity and we're gonna make a thing of it. Again, extension of preseason week 1. It may or may not tell the entire story, but as is the case, I might just have to go with the home team in this one. That being the Toronto Argonauts. I'll have them covering, and I'll have them beating the Calgary Stampeders. I'll go 24-19 over the Calgary Stampeders. Last game, the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Speaking of the Hamilton Tiger Cats, they host the Saskatchewan Roughriders. The Hamilton Tiger Cats, where the Riders are favored by 3.5, and the over-under is 50.5. And now that we're talking about the Hamilton Tiger Cats, can we talk about how the streak that Bo Levi Mitchell has of putting up outstanding numbers while losing? That streak is pure outstanding. If you see what I did there.
Yeah.
The outstanding player. Put up good numbers, but he lost a lot. But obviously in the kind of like in garbage time, so to speak. But I digress.
Is he not doing the Boveralls anymore?
Well, I guess that's why. Yeah, I guess that's so 2024. He's got to put something on. He's got to like Bortz.
Yeah. Bortz.
My
name is also.
Where do you have this one going?
I have this one going in favor of Saskatchewan Roughriders.
Mm-hmm.
If you listen to the show,
huge fan of the Riders. Yes, we know.
Yeah, I've not been generous to the Riders, and I can go one of two ways. Dig my heels in and try to be right, but that's not going to... There's no point in that. Saskatchewan looked very good in taking out the Ottawa Red Black, so there's no use me trying to save face or be proud here. They looked good. They make me look bad, and that's fine. And then to cap it all off, I believe I see they brought in Kadeem Carey for their run game, which to me is, unless he's got an injury I am not aware of that's publicly known, I think he's just made that Saskatchewan team even better when it comes to the rushing game. You know, maybe we can see our first, if he's in game shape ready and can get in there, I think we see our first 100-yard running game from a running back this season. I'm just going to take my lumps on this one. I'm going to take Saskatchewan again, 38-14 over the Ticats.
Yeah, and again, this is like one of those things where it'd be like, everything you say makes sense. AJ Ouellette, speaking of, the Jesse Lumsden Award, AJ Ouellette is right up there. Kind of, got concussed last week. limited action during play. So, he looks like he is a game time decision, at least as of now. Keon Schaefer-Baker, not practicing, or at least limited. Looks like he's not going to be back this week too as well, unless things have changed in the last 4 hours. But at that time, I do think Saskatchewan is a better team than Hamilton. Like, I could see Hamilton just coming up with 2 straight scoring drives, like back-to-back touchdowns, forcing Saskatchewan to be a 2-and-out. Like, I could see that. And then Saskatchewan just kind of like lucking themselves into field goal after field goal, and then like winning this game 27-14 on the backs of 9 field goals from Brett Lothar. But I can also see, like, Hamilton is like, I can also see them just going touchdown for touchdown, not because of, that Saskatchewan is a bad team. I'll still feel that Saskatchewan's a better team than Hamilton. It just seems like Hamilton has these kind of games in the past where a game where they should not win, but they end up winning, or at least making it close. And then I think of last year, of all the times that Hamilton had Saskatchewan and they blew it. I can't shake it, but as much as I really want to put Hamilton in front of this, I do have to say Saskatchewan does win this one. I do think that maybe Hamilton does cover the spread. Maybe it's a 22-19 win over the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Maybe Hamilton has a 19 to I'm trying to think, what did I 22-19? Trying to think what the math is quickly. So maybe they have a 19-15 lead, and Saskatchewan has a touchdown, like Kevin Glenn to Milt Stiegel circa 2006. And I could actually see that to players like maybe Mitch Picton coming out of nowhere with that 100-yard drive. So that's who we got. So it looks like that we both have BC, we both have Montreal. We're kind of split on the hit Calgary and Toronto, and we both have the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Do you have a lock of the week? Do you have a Money in the Bank?
No, Montreal. Montreal's my lock of the week.
I feel that's
put Money in the Bank.
I feel that's a cop-out. But I'll tell you what. Money in the Bank, my lock of the week, Winnipeg to cover the spread. I'm not 100%. That spread, Winnipeg at home, BC on the road, short week. I'm very tempted to even say Winnipeg wins. Not confident, but I do think they cover the spread. That is my lock of the week, and I know that I'm going to kick myself because I do not bet on my teams at all. Oh, that'll do it for this.
I have a horrible feeling that Jesse Lumsden award is going to catch on, and it's so dark and it's so wrong. I shouldn't have made that joke, but I feel like it's going to catch on.
Well, I can understand if we said it in a disparaging way, but I think what had happened is because, what was it, Neil? It was his dad, right? Like, I remember he was on Off the Record, and Michael Landsberg had that question. Fantastic athlete your son is, but he's often injured. Like, can you get past that? And Neil Lumsden took that personal. He took that shit personal, and he went off on Michael Landsberg. And I want to go find that clip to put it on YouTube or something. But that's it's not disparaging or disrespect to Jesse Lumsden. I think he's even an Olympian right now. Or he was. Yeah. So no disrespect, but it is a fact. He had a potential to be a Hall of Fame player. He just couldn't stay healthy enough to
we're not making fun of injuries.
Yeah.
But you can't ignore that some players are just injury prone. They can't play a full season.
Yeah. I mean, it happens. But so Jesse Lumsden Award happens to be the title of this week's podcast, though.
Yeah. There you go.
That'll do it for this week's podcast. You can listen to us on all your podcast applications that may be available, including Spotify, TuneIn, app, iTunes. You know what? Everything is available through YouTube too, as well as we have our YouTube. Tony, you can see him. He's got the bright light. Actually, looks like he's outdoors.
Yeah, I apologize for that. It's the only light in the room.
It looks like a sun. It actually had I not seen the shelf right behind you, you could have told me I'm in sunny Saskatchewan, and I would have bought it.
I'm directly under the Earth's sun now.
There, you're like Montgomery Burns, blocking out the sun.
Yeah,
it's going to be dark in Saskatchewan forever. Well, that'll wrap it up. Again, you can follow us on all social media platforms. Our podcast is available through Blue Sky, as well as ourselves at Rouge Dalts, Tony at Tony Rouge. Like us on Facebook and, of course, on YouTube as well. For Tony, I'm Dalts. Thanks for listening. Oh, yeah, we will see you next week.
Thanks for listening. Find more great shows like this at CF Pod Network on Twitter.